I need to start this video by saying I do not have any of my personal money on the line here. I'm not long, nor am I short. But I do believe that I am deciding on what trade I'm going to make, and I'm going to walk you through it. And I believe by the end of this video, you're going to know where I stand and what I'm thinking, and you may feel the same way. So leave your comments below if you think that this trade I'm about to present is worthwhile or not. Okay, the chart here is Apple. Apple has obviously had an incredible journey since its iPhone was released in the late 2000s. It's up some 6,000% since that standpoint. Also, I should be clear that I am an Apple fanboy of sorts. I have an Apple iPhone, I use Mac, I use their services. I really like Apple. And Steve Jobs also has been a magnificent influence in tech and just in building a business in general. In fact, I even have some videos on my YouTube channel about Steve Jobs. Back when I was still in school, some 10 years ago, I was posting some videos about Steve Jobs. But the point here is that in markets, all things eventually come to an end. And I do think it's possible that Apple, for the first time, essentially since its iPhone was released, is about to hit its stiffest competition yet, and that the tide may truly be turning. Now, to talk about the sheer size of this trade, it's important to say that Apple is worth $2.9 trillion at this point in time. It's massive. Now, it is the second largest company in the world, but not long ago, and for multiple years, it was the largest company in the world. But Microsoft has recently overtook Apple, and I think you may find out in this video why Microsoft has overtaken Apple recently and been on an even bigger run than Apple has in the last few months. It's all because of AI. And this is, after all, what this video is about, is that Apple is lagging in AI. In fact, if we look at Apple's services breakdown, what we're going to see is that the majority of their revenue still comes from the iPhone. The next largest section is its services, but keep in mind its services does not include any AI or AI-related products. Services right now at Apple are mostly related to subscriptions, so people paying monthly subscriptions for specific services. It's related to Apple Pay and Apple Wallet, and it's related, of course, to its personal cloud storage. I pay for more storage for all of my photos, for example. So none of those tools, though, or none of those services are connected to AI, whereas Microsoft still currently is selling a lot in the cloud. They have an AI service. They work closely with OpenAI. And wait a second, I just said the name of the company that I believe is about to take down Apple, and the company that poses the biggest threat to Apple in quite some time. Now, before I show you some of these videos, and some of you have maybe seen them before, and even if you have seen them before, let me just walk you through something, and you're going to watch these videos in a new light. So this article, published on The Verge, goes back to September 28th, 2023. Now, why does this article matter? Well, this article matters because it is about Jony Ive. And Jony Ive is the man who designed the iPhone. He played probably the most significant role, other than Steve Jobs, in the look, the feel, and the design of the iPhone. The apps, the actual hardware, the material, than anyone else. And after all, he was the lead designer at Apple for a very long time. Now, here's where things get interesting. Read this headline. Details emerge on Jony Ive and OpenAI's plan to build the iPhone of artificial intelligence. So you're telling me that the man who basically shaped the iPhone, its premium feel, its great design, easy to use capabilities, its fluidity, is now partnering with this company, which has the best AI product on the market? And if that is to be true, then this is where the fall and demise of Apple really comes into play. I think now things are probably starting to make a little more sense to everyone watching this video. Now, before we really get into what OpenAI can do, it is also important here to say that there is this rise right now in AI companies launching smartphone apps. So if you go to the App Store and type in OpenAI, you can get their app. I'm going to show you what their app can do on their YouTube channel, or you can go watch it. There's also Anthropic and others. But at the end of the day, this is actually just a smokescreen of sorts. It is not about the apps. It is about what these products can do once they have their own physical hardware device designed by people like Johnny Ive, and that's where the game changes entirely for Apple. So without further ado, I think it's time that I play a video demonstration of ChatGPT, and while you're watching this, imagine that this AI model lives on a new device designed and created by Johnny Ive, the guy who created the iPhone. So let's get this started. It is rather hilarious to me that OpenAI does have ads turned on. You have to wonder, like, do they need money that badly? They have YouTube ads turned on? But check this out. Okay, let's play this.
Mark, you want to try this one?
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
I speak Italian, so we can just do English, Italian.
Let's try to do English-Italian. Sure, let's do it. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's your day going?
I'm doing great. So I would like you to function as a translator. I have a friend here who only speaks Italian, and I only speak English. And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto.
Mark, io mi chiedo se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
They might ask, how do we solve linear equations?
Potrebbero chiederci come risolviamo le equazioni lineari.
Sicuramente sì.
Certainly, yes.
So I think the key thing here, though, is not the translation tool is remarkable. Listens, translates back and forth. But it's actually the instructions that is just sheerly jaw-dropping. Siri, at this point in time, cannot do any of this. And this is where OpenAI and potential new AI companies can really take down Apple. And it's actually what I think is the Achilles heel of Apple, which is Siri. Now, I've been doing some research on YouTube. In fact, you can see I typed in here, Siri is the worst. And you can see that people are already on top of this. This is not a first thing that you've heard before. You can see the top videos. Here's why Siri is an utter failure. Siri is broken. Why Siri sucks. And it's true. I use Siri for quite a few things, but most of the time I'm disappointed in Siri. The same way in the OpenAI video, he gave the chat assistant a direct instruction. Listen to my English, translate it to Italian. When you hear Italian, translate it to English. And just like that, it followed every prompt exactly, didn't get anything wrong. That is incredible processing and incredible capability to listen to language and get the task done. Siri can't do any of that. If I ask Siri right now a question, maybe what's the largest continent on Earth? In fact, why don't I just go ahead and do that right now? Hey Siri, what's the largest continent on Earth? You can already see the issues. Hey Siri, what's the largest continent on Earth? The best Siri can do is return a Wikipedia article. So at this point, Siri is just a glorified web searching agent or assistant. It has no capabilities like we just saw from ChatGPT. And as we get these tools embedded into our everyday life, we're going to want to use them more and more. Hey, OpenAI, explain to me this and this. Quickly reads it back, gives you context. This is going to be the next wave here. Now, this video I want to show next. And once again, when you watch this video, keep it in mind that Johnny Ives might be behind the scenes right now building an entirely new smartphone. Okay, so the video you're about to watch this application, this OpenAI, might eventually be on an entirely new smartphone designed by the guy who built the iPhone. So this video is fascinating to me, and I'll tell you why this video is fascinating. You'll see OpenAI can use the camera on a smartphone to understand what's going on around it.
Hi, hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling about? Are you in a cool industry style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what it might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah.
Are you content?
In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements are always a big deal. Judging by the setup.
So the key thing there is the gentleman in this video demonstrated that with the camera, he can show the OpenAI assistant things around him. It can process that video footage and then return some insights about the environment he's in or specific things it observes in that environment. Siri is so far away from that, it's laughable. And this is the Achilles heel of Apple. As these voice assistants get more powerful, Siri just has no chance at even getting close to this anytime soon. Tim Cook has not set Apple up for this. In fact, he's been very focused on things like Apple Pay and very focused on the profitability of their iPhones and the supply chain. He's a supply chain guy. He is not like Nadella at Microsoft, who has more of a SaaS and software background, sees the power in computing, jumped on OpenAI quickly. The simple fact is that Apple is sort of falling behind in this regard. Now, here's the key thing. I've mentioned that I am a huge fan of Apple, so I want to shift gears for a bit because I don't want to see Apple fall. I want to see Apple keep succeeding. I'm a fan. I use their products. But I have to remember that markets are ruthless. Now, throughout the course of history, there are only 1 or 2 or 3 instances where a company has lasted more than 100 years. General Electric is, from what I understand, the only company that has lasted over 100 years in the entire stock market. We're talking 3,000 plus companies currently in the stock market. Not a single one but General Electric has been there for 100 plus years. And more importantly, General Electric is not even in the Dow anymore, but it was the longest sort of tenured company in the Dow. So the point here is that things change in markets. Markets are ruthless. The average company does not last even 10 years in markets. So Apple's run alone is really impressive and historic, but we can use history as a guide for what happens when new tech comes, when new products are developed, when better things are built and become more efficient. So GE is not even GE anymore. In fact, they rebranded to GE Aerospace. Now, this chart is also rather fascinating because it does show that even though General Electric has been around for over 100 years, it's gone nowhere since the 2000s. In fact, if you bought General Electric, so if you bought General Electric back in, let's see if I can find, here it is, back in the 2000s and held it for 24 years, so 24 years later, you'd still be down 33%. So it's still a publicly traded company. It's still out there. It's had some really tough times, and a ton of investors are still down. If you bought General Electric in the 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, 7, you would still be down 16% after some 10 plus years. The point is that even with the strongest, best names, this often happens. And General Electric, you may not think of it now, but during this whole rise here, was one of the market's favorite companies. It was changing the world. It was building new products. It was the Apple of that time. These things just come and go, and you can see that. In fact, what's rather interesting is if you look at General Electric's move here, so this is really, really interesting. You can see it starts in the 80s and ends in the 2000s. That's about 20 years. Okay? That's about 20 years. General Electric was the Apple of that time. Go ask anyone, your grandfather, possibly your parents. They will say, that's right, Apple was just the company to be 20 years. What's very interesting about Apple at this point in time is if you look when this run really starts in about 2004-ish, all the way up here to 2024, we are in the 20th year. Now, obviously, this is just sort of cherry picking some data, depends on our starting points, but there is just that general lesson that history often does repeat. History is our greatest teacher. So if it's true that OpenAI is now positioning itself to be the greatest threat to Apple, then we may be entering a point whereby Apple's entire revenue and profitability is going to be challenged from an entirely new paradigm in the smartphone arena, because smartphones are going to turn into something that we just simply have never seen before. They're going to be entirely AI run at its core, as opposed to sort of having this app system, this flat, this screen where you tap on different apps. It could be something entirely new. And Apple, quite frankly, is not ready for that. So this is why this video is the precursor for a trade I am thinking about, which is not that Apple is sort of going to fall first thing tomorrow, but like General Electric, with increased competition, it has now fallen behind. It might be time for a change in market leadership, and Apple could go sideways to down for some time. Now, if you've stuck around this long, I do actually want to show you even its revenue, which really caught my attention. So this is Apple's quarterly revenue. I am so used to Apple's quarterly revenue making new high after new high. Check this out. December of 2016, revenue was here. By that time next year, it was up here. By that time next year, it was up here. By that time next year, it was up here. By that time next year, it was up here. The point is, you can see that just for during this whole cycle, even before that, Apple's revenue was climbing time and time again. It has a great history of increasing its revenue. This really caught my attention as well. While I was doing research, I was just thinking about OpenAI. I didn't even look into this. For the first time in quite some time, probably, I just can't even remember when, Apple's revenue is down year over year. So you can see it went down year over year, right? This was December of 21. Here's December of 22. Here's December of 23. Here's December of 21. So it went down from 21 to 22. And it's December of 23 is still down from 21. Also, you can even just see that in the most recent quarter. Here's March of 24. So this is March of 24. Let me make sure everyone can see that. Yep, March of 24. Let me move my camera. And it's down from March of 23. So there's weakness already occurring. Something is changing under the hood. And this video is supposed to start the exploration of that in a trade that I am exploring. I do not believe I will be wrong on this trade. I feel rather confident that things are brewing. And I want to go back now and end on this note, which is about how competitive markets are. So what am I showing here? What I'm showing here are the Dow Jones Industrial Average companies by year or specific points in time. So these were essentially the starting companies in the Dow right here. Now is UNP, Union Pacific Railroad. Let's see if they are still, yep, so they are still around. Are they in the Dow? Let's see, Union Pacific Railroad, Dow Jones. Let's find out here. Well, what am I doing? Let's just go up to the top to see. Are they still in the Dow? Union Pacific, they're not in the Dow anymore. Okay, so the reason why I'm showing you this, by the way, is because I want to end on this note, and you just have some real-time research there, is that all of the original companies in the Dow are either no longer here or no longer in the Dow. So Union Pacific, though, actually is still here, but it's no longer in the Dow. And if you scroll through this list of companies, which, by the way, remember, the Dow has always been the 30 or so most impressive companies throughout America's history. If you scroll through this list, you should be saying, wow, the 30 most impressive, the 30 most impressive, the 30 most impressive. But you can see the names changing year after year. Companies are falling, dropping, leaving, going bankrupt, getting bought, merging, closing down, going private. It just never ends. Every time you think that one of these companies is unstoppable, it can't be stopped. It's changing the world. It is just simply the company that will always be here. Just keep scrolling through time and you will see the list changes year after year after year after year. Things come and go. People evolve. People grow. People build new products. After all, it's one reason why we are who we are, is we're always growing and we're always trying to build and develop new things. That sheer thought process goes against the core meaning of sort of a company lasting forever. It's almost like companies are not supposed to last forever because we're always trying to build and out-innovate each other. So with that being said, this video walks through the starting process of OpenAI's demise, with Siri being the Achilles heel because it does not have the voice or assistant capabilities that companies like OpenAI are launching and releasing at this point in time. Now marry the power of OpenAI with the fact that possibly they have been exploring an iPhone now since September of 2023, and you might have the greatest threat to Apple, in that case maybe even Google's smartphone market, of the last 10 to 20 years. And this is why, while I don't yet have a long position or short position in Apple, I am surely leaning toward making an options trade, most likely put options, that play this downside event based on the increasing competition and based on the impressive nature of the AI products coming to market. After all, I do support innovation and new products because it will make us all better off at the end of the day by being more productive, more efficient. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my video covering Apple's greatest threat since the iPhone was launched and what this could mean for markets considering the sheer size of Apple and the fact it's weighted in all of the indexes and portfolios across the country, and that you might want to consider all of the research in this video and position accordingly, not for tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now, but possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, depending if Apple can catch up quick enough. So thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing your comments below.